Yeah, absolutely, man. It definitely puts a smile on my face knowing that the next generation is invested and they're excited about all the stuff that there is out there. And I'm also jealous, man. Like, could you imagine being a new keeper now with all the stuff that's available, from geckos to snakes to everything in between is wild.
Yeah, yeah. No, not to mention like I feel like today it's more of a possibility for you to earn a living doing this. So if a kid really sees us and they say, "Oh, I want to do that as a living," it's actually, a more viable option than it was a couple years ago.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And people have moved projects along so quickly, it's really easy to kind of dial in. Like when you see that one animal that really captivates you, you're gonna find, chances are, somebody else that's already kind of working something similar, so you can start to kind of figure out your niche within that project or within that
Yep.
section of the hobby and just go for it, which is a really exciting time for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the best.
Heck yeah, man. So, is there a species, since you guys have kind of a plethora of everything, is there one species that you don't have right now that's kind of like in the periphery, is like, maybe if I can get my hands on one of those, like we'll start working with them a little bit?
Honestly, I've been so lucky to be able to get pretty much almost everything I want. There's certain things that I can't have because just laws don't let me have them. I think one of my dream species are the Fiji banded iguanas.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I envy those guys in Canada so much because they get to have them and they're like, any regular old lizard to them. But the Fiji banded iguanas would be amazing. The Nautinus genera of New Zealand geckos are really, really rare. And I saw a buddy of mine, Richie, just got some. So those are some species that I'm like,
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I saw somebody recently posted, it might have been the same Naltinus, and I was like, "Oh man, those are so cool." Like geckos aren't like
yeah,
want to focus on it all, but I would love to have a pair of those because they're absolutely amazing looking gecko species.
yeah, they're just bright, bright green. Like, oh my God.
Yeah,
There's very few animals that have that kind of color in nature.
it's true. It's true. I'll make sure that I put a picture in this video so people can see what we're talking about. Because if you've never seen one before, it's a crazy experience when you see your first one. You're just like, what the heck is that? Because there's like nothing else like it. Well, man, I've got one last question for you before we hit the end button on this, and we're here on the USARK YouTube channel, so I've got to ask you, what does USARK mean to you, and especially to you personally, but also as a Floridian reptile keeper? There's a few extra elements of having USARK involved. So, what does USARK mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, USARK is literally one of the most important facets of our hobby that I could think of because so many of us are so involved in our day-to-day lives that it's hard for us to pay attention to what's actually going on behind the scenes with all the legislation and all these politicians trying to take away some of these animals. So I'm so grateful that they are on top of it all the time and they show us those alerts and let us know, hey, Florida, they're trying to ban, your animals again, or depending on what the state it is. But here, living in Florida is especially important to us because, I mean, we are a hotbed for invasive species, obviously, but the people that are, in that are taking care of the Florida wildlife here in the state seem to think that banning every single reptile is the way to go. And we have seen, especially with like the green iguanas and some other animals, that the methods they have taken to try to mitigate, the explosion of green iguanas in the state has actually backfired on them. So um, the small victories that we can get here and there and the big victories as well that USARK has been able to pull just mean the world to me because I make a living through this. But even if I didn't, you know, this is just what I love. And a lot of these animals that I had to get rid of are animals that I was keeping just as pets. So the business aspect is one thing, but what's really sucks is that I won't be able to put a green iguana or a tegu in my son's hands unless I leave the state of Florida. So that's why it's so important. USARK are the, the front line that's fighting our battles, our legislation and all that. So I'm very, very, very grateful for them. And anytime I can support, I try to.
Heck yeah, dude. We definitely appreciate the support, man, for sure. David, thank you so much for coming and hanging and chat with me for a little bit, man. If people want to find more about you and what you've got going on, where can they find you?
You can find me on pretty much all the social media platforms. I have YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X or whatever. Although I'm not on there as much, but I'm on everything. So just Tiki's Geckos, Tikis, Geckos.
Heck yeah, man. Dude, thank you so much once again, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for having me, guys.
Heck
USARK. Let's go.
yeah.